for chilling mysteries, for lives cut short or stolen by shadows. From a woman vanishing in the desert to a teen disappearing from his locked home, these real unsolved crimes will keep you awake at night. What happened to them? And could the answer still be out there? Some stories end with answers. Others remain buried in silence. Tonight, we'll journey into 4 real true crime stories that will keep you awake at night. These are not ghost tales or urban legends. They are real, documented, and unresolved. What makes them terrifying is not just what happened, but what has never been explained. On a warm July night in Arizona, 24-year-old Anna Rivera left her job at a local diner. She clocked out, waved goodbye to her co-workers, and got into her car for the short drive home. It should have been routine, but Anna never arrived. Hours later, her car was discovered along a desolate stretch of desert road. The driver's door stood wide open. Inside, her purse, wallet, and phone sat untouched. The engine was still warm, as if she had only just stepped away. But Anna herself was gone. Investigators scoured the area. There were no signs of a struggle, no broken glass, no tire marks, nothing to suggest she had been forced from her vehicle, just a set of footprints leading away from the road into the sand. They continued for nearly half a mile before vanishing completely. No more tracks, no more signs. It was as if she had simply disappeared into thin air. Search teams used helicopters, drones, and cadaver dogs, but the desert gave up no answers. Some speculated she had chosen to walk away, to start a new life. But why leave behind her belongings? Why step into the desert with nothing? Others believed she had been abducted, snatched after pulling over for reasons no one could explain. And then there's the strangest theory of all, that Anna might have been picked up by someone she trusted, someone who left no trace behind. To this day, no body, no suspects, and no explanation have ever surfaced. Anna Rivera simply vanished. Our second story takes us far from the desert, into the bustling heart of Washington, D.C., a city filled with power, politics, and secrets. In 2024, 27-year-old law student Danielle Moore was found dead inside her apartment. The discovery was unsettling. There were no broken locks, no forced entry, no obvious signs of a struggle. Her roommate found her lying on her bed as if she had simply drifted off to sleep. Yet Danielle was gone forever. Police initially labeled the death accidental. They suggested medication complications, perhaps a tragic mix-up. But Danielle's family pushed back hard. They knew she had been receiving threatening messages from a fellow student in the weeks leading up to her death. Messages that were angry, aggressive, and escalating. They pleaded with investigators to dig deeper, to consider the possibility of foul play. But those pleas fell on deaf ears. No autopsy results that satisfied her family. No suspects ever questioned. And eventually, the case was closed. For the public, the official word was accident. But for Danielle's family and many who heard her story, it felt more like a cover-up. Who had access to her apartment that night? Who could enter without breaking a lock? And why was the case shut down so quickly? The unanswered questions have haunted her loved ones for years, and whispers still circulate in the city's legal community. Was Danielle more the victim of an accident or the perfect crime? Our third story takes us to a quiet town in the Midwest, where a seemingly ordinary night became the start of a nightmare. 15-year-old Michael Harris was home with his family. He spent the evening in his bedroom, playing video games online with friends. His parents said goodnight. The house was locked, and nothing seemed unusual. But by morning, Michael was gone. His bedroom window was wide open, his bed empty. His shoes were still under the bed, his phone on the desk, his wallet untouched. Outside, police found a single set of footprints in the dewy grass. They led from a house into the woods behind the property. But then they stopped. No broken branches, no drag marks, no further tracks. Just silence, as if Michael had been swallowed by the night. Search parties scoured the woods. Helicopters circled overhead. Dogs picked up his scent briefly, but then it vanished as abruptly as his footprints had. For weeks, the community searched, clinging to the hope of finding the boy alive. But not a single trace emerged. Some suggested he had run away. But if so, why leave behind everything he needed to survive? Others whispered about an abduction, a carefully planned operation. But how did the abductor leave no evidence? How does a boy disappear from his own home without a single clue? Years later, his room remains untouched. His parents still set a place for him at the table on his birthday. And the mystery of Michael Harris continues to hang over his town like a shadow no one can escape. Our final story stretches across years, along a highway with a deadly reputation. Locals call it the Highway of Shadows. Remote, desolate, endless stretches of dark road with little more than truck stops and the occasional flickering streetlight. Between the late 1990s and the early 2010s, a series of women disappeared along this stretch. Most were young, traveling alone. Some were last seen at gas stations, others hitchhiking. Days later, their bodies would be discovered miles apart, along ditches and wooded areas near the road. The similarities were chilling. The victims shared demographics. The timing was erratic but deliberate, and the location was always the same lonely highway. Investigators suspected a serial killer, perhaps a truck driver who knew the road better than anyone else. But despite years of work, they never identified the culprit. There were no DNA matches, no fingerprints, and no solid suspects. Just whispers among truckers about a man who followed women late at night, headlights appearing and disappearing like a predator stalking prey. Some say the killing stopped because the killer died. Others believe he simply moved to a new hunting ground. But the truth is, no one knows. The Highway of Shadows remains one of America's most chilling unsolved mysteries, and families of the victims are left to wonder if the killer is still alive, still driving, still waiting for the next vulnerable traveler to cross his path. For stories, for lives, maybe more, stolen by forces unseen. Anna's car, left behind in the desert, her footsteps vanishing in the sand. Danielle's apartment in Washington, a death that never added up. Michael's empty room, and the trail that stopped mid-forest, and a lonely stretch of asphalt where an invisible predator hunted for over a decade. What connects these cases is not the method, but the silence, the absence of answers, and the chilling possibility that somewhere the truth is still out there. The most terrifying part? These people were real. Their families still wait, and whoever or whatever was responsible may still be walking free today. So I'll ask you this. Which story will keep you awake tonight? Which case hides the darkest truth? And which mystery, if solved, could reveal something far more terrifying than we're ready to face? Share your thought below. And remember, stay curious, stay vigilant, and never stop asking questions.